So, Luka Nation, we're live, and it's episode, I believe, 830. And in these 830 episodes, probably have 300, 400 guests. But I can count on one hand how many of those Cage was like, hey, I think it'd be great if we have this person on. So, you guys are in for a real treat because in front of me is a collector, an artist, a television personality. Honestly, very handsome man. I wouldn't be surprised you're a model and an actor as well. So, Cage wanted to have this guy on, and in the few minutes we were chopping behind the scenes, you have a really, really likable spirit about you. So I think the community is going to love you. Steve Lacy, welcome to the Lucas Tigers and Bronzo My Show. It's nice to have you.
I can't believe I'm here. Like I was telling you, I watch this every night on my big screen TV on YouTube TV. So this is a big deal for me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, we're going to get to your origin story because Andrew does that. That's what he's going to do, and I love it. But I just have to stop and let people know how surreal that is, that you say you listen to us or watch us on YouTube every night. Because, Steve, tell the folks what you do. What's your day job?
Sure. So I'm the 5 and 10 o'clock weekday anchor at Fox 5 here in New York City.
Network television anchor. And I haven't asked him yet, a minute in, to say any Ron Burgundy lines. None.
Yeah. You'll be the first person to ever drop one of those in conversation to me. That's for sure. It's wild. It's fun. I've been in New York. I moved here 11 years ago. It's just been a dream. It really has been. And it's funny. I've got a 2-year-old daughter now. And so I came to work early because this is the only place I have any sort of peace and quiet. So I figured this would be a good place to do it.
I know we do origin story, but I actually think maybe hitting, how our generation, it's tell me what you're going to tell me, right?
Sure.
We see more and more YouTube channels, content creators every single day in the hobby.
Mm-hmm.
Any advice, any fundamentals, any, your 3 core baby pillars of before you hop on into a show that you would be willing to share?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting because truthfully, what I said to you before we went on is true. I cut the cord. All I do is watch YouTube, and all I do watch on YouTube is like 85% sports card content, even stuff I'm not into. I'm like, if I'm out of the stuff I like, I'll go to this channel and that channel. So I've consumed a ton of it. And I've been trying to get my art YouTube going too. So I've really been thinking a lot about it. I do find it somewhat mysterious, the different view channels some channels get from the other. And I know you guys are tortured by it. You're like, why don't we have more subscribers? We're so trusted. Our people watch us the whole way through. And I totally get that frustration because you see the view totals don't seem to totally jibe out to me with different people's status in the hobbies in some sense. So it does seem to be very mysterious,
Steve, it matters. I mean, it's not something I ever thought. I'm an old man. As a matter of fact, you are recording here on my birthday. Today is my birthday.
Oh, I saw it. Yeah. Happy birthday.
So I appreciate that.
Yes.
And so I'm going to ask,
yeah.
I don't ask for gifts. I bought myself a gift to give to my kids to give to me. I'm not, I don't want to, as a matter of fact, I did a little, post today saying it's my birthday. I'll give you guys gifts. Just give me a Panini name. I'll send you some Panini stuff. I got packs, but I'm going to ask. I'm going to ask from the audience. And here's why the ask before the ask.
Yeah.
When we have meetings, the way that the world works now is the first thing that people ask for from us, whether we're meeting with anyone from Fanatics to Zion cases, anyone in the hobby, outside the hobby, podcast networks, media studios, people who want to advertise, the first thing they send over your numbers. And invariably, one of the first questions when we sit down and talk to them is, Cage, everyone knows you. You only have 3,100 followers. Why you don't have 100,000 followers? And I'm like, I've never asked for followers. I've never bought followers. I've never paid for followers. Our YouTube channel has what it has.
Well, that's the elephant in the room too. How real are people's metrics? How much smoke and mirrors in this hobby of all things where we know that chicanery runs deep. Sure.
So that's my birthday ask. Follow Andrew. Follow our Luka Tiger LeBron podcast. Go hit subscribe on YouTube. Tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell an enemy, like I've said since day one. And follow Steve. And follow his card content.
No, that'd be great.
It matters.
And it's funny too. You do have to ask, one of the first things when I really dove into YouTube that I was turned off by everyone that always smash the like button, hit subscribe, blah, blah, blah. But I actually had a realization recently. I watch this guy, AAH Sports, who does his whole thing is hanky panky and all that. I love it.
We've had him on.
He's really having a moment now. I think his star is on the way up, and my light switch is going to shut off every now and again. But he just starts religiously with that pitch. And I realized I actually don't mind it. And then like finally after the 80th video of his that I watched, I did it. You know, so it's like you can't, on a free platform, you can't be ashamed about asking for people to do the thing that helps you grow your viewership. You know, I just realized that it's like, it seems like it would be annoying. You don't want to do it in your own videos, but you got to do it, you know, and it's fine.
How do they rate your metrics? So in traditional TV, what are some of the metrics that, you know, the producers look for?
We have, you know, like Nielsen ratings every day. And then they break it down into demographics, 18 to 24, 25 to 54 is the, you know, that's the bread and butter one. But then there's, you know, total households, this, that, and the other. They slice it up a million different ways. And I mean, even in TV, everyone argues about it. If you don't like your number, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, the sample's off. This month has been a crap, you know. It's everyone's doing the same game, you know. But that's been the bread and butter of that forever. And it's interesting what you say about, you know, when you go to someone with a pitch, they ask you for your numbers. I did back in 2017. I started a podcast here. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just interview the cool people I've met through social media and very similar to what you did. And back in the Wild West days of like 2017, you could get crazy guests because no one was even thinking about the fact that 25 people were watching it. You know, like you'd call like oh sure, oh yeah, I'd love to do your podcast. Like that had not entered the chat yet, and now it's definitely like, wait a second, we can't run ourselves ragged doing 800 podcasts a day. We need to see some numbers first, you know?
Well, you're already my favorite guest because Andrew, for 2 years and change, has told me about winning. We're going to win. And I say to him all the time, what's winning? And he says, you got to tell me, what are some of your goals? And one of his goals was that the podcast would eventually record out of a real studio, like a news studio. And look what we did today, Andrew.
Yes,
we're recording from the Fox studio in New York. Victory.
Welcome. Don't tell the union guys, but yes.
The two metrics, Cage, that I'm most proud of is 80% of our audience listens all the way through, which
the
I
whole
think
thing
is kind of crazy. And our
rare.
demo is 35 to 55. So we skew towards a little bit of the older demographic, which if they don't comment like good episode, they'll like comment a paragraph well thought out or nothing at all. Yeah. So our like kind of superficial metrics aren't the highest, but if you kind of look below the curtain, there's a lot of engagement and a lot of depth. It's just on us to sell it the right way to potential
I mean, like,
partners.
So your pitch is like, listen, you're getting a lot of bang for the buck. We know we're not bringing 100,000 people here, but these people are obsessed with it, and like we'll stick through the whole thing, which is the hard part. I mean, you're doing the hard part. You do it every day, which is insane. I can't believe you've done 870 whatever episodes. That I know what a slog that is. Believe me. But it's like people, it really is like a parent or something. Like people need to like become accustomed to the fact that you're gonna be there, and then that will, I think, at some point like exponentially scale. Because the thing that I have noticed in 2 years of watching nonstop content is a lot of hobby creators have come and gone. You know, over the past people I liked. You know, there are a whole bunch of people I could name that like, oh, all of a sudden I'll think about like I haven't seen that guy in a long time. Last video, March 2021. You know. So longevity plus good content is the sweet spot. It's just going to happen, you know, on its own schedule. That's art. That's everything. It's not going to happen when you want it to on your timeline. It's just going to happen when it happens, you know.
100% correct. Love it. So I'll ask, tell me about collecting, because, you know, it's fun to bring somebody on here who, you know, does the news in New York at 10 o'clock and say, all right, you know, he's making some art, and we'll get to your art in a second. But did you collect as a kid? You came back in. Tell your origin story. So tell us your collecting beginnings.
I feel like my origin story and how I'm going to portray myself to the audience is I'm every idiot who's been into cards. When it gets big, I get back into it. So I got back in during the pandemic. Prior to that, I'm 47. So I started collecting. I mean, and I remember it clear as day, like 1982. I grew up in Massachusetts. I was chasing Carlton Fisk, Carl Yastrzemski cards in packs of like, I remember 82 Fleer baseball a lot, which I think would just be an issue of whatever the 3 convenience stores my mom took me to and I could beg her for change, they happened to sell Fleer. And then I really remember 82 Topps football big time. And it's like, you know, I cracked a few vending boxes a couple years ago, and the smell of the cards, all of it brings me right back, you know. And I love the 82 set. I love all 83 baseball. So the first wave of collecting was 82 through like 85. I'm huge. I love Garbage Pail Kids. Because I would buy those Series 1 packs at Johnson's General Store around the corner for 25 cents. I still have a bunch of them. And then I got into the second wave, 1990, Ken Griffey, Junk Wax, that whole thing. And then it's weird because I got back into the hobby for this current time. I mean, I remember dates and everything. It was February 26, 2020. Stock market was all just tanking, going to hell. And it was like, I don't even know what these stocks are I own. It just seems so ludicrous to me. I'm like, what is any of this stuff? I don't know. And I swear to you, it was like, the Swans of Capistrano or something. I was just innately drawn. I'm like, I'm old now. I'm not broke. I'm going to buy a Michael Jordan rookie. Because all that crap I couldn't afford when I was a kid at all. You know what I mean? It's so funny. Even in 1990, there was like, so I bought a PSA 8 Michael Jordan rookie on February 26, 2020. And then I was just like so hooked in after that, And
you caught the run.
Caught
the run. People remember the run in 2021 and in August, but the first run was that month of February where right before COVID.
Yes.
It was crazy. And then it was such an interesting time because February 26th, you bought the Jordan, then COVID hit, and then Last Dance came out, and it was like gas on a fire.
No, totally. But it's weird. It speaks to me. I'm a big believer of people my generation. The thing I was saying to someone, which is so true, is if you're 47, so you were raised in the 80s, all of our inputs were the same. Like you drank Coca-Cola and Gatorade, you watched MTV, you were into Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. You collected cards. You collected the same cards. You wore the same clothing. You did this. We all are.
You wore Jenko jeans. Admit it right now.
No, but Zubaz is coming back. I mean, that was those like weightlifting pants, Rovell,
early 90s.
The early 90s stuff like that.
No, I know.
The fancy like pants. No, 80s pants would be not Jenko jeans. It was Cavaricci's.
I had a pair of Cavaricci's in 1990, which is so embarrassing, but so true. And then Wranglers, yeah. I would wreck my Wranglers.
American for jeans. Wrangler, American. What's your favorite MTV show in the 90s? Go. 3, 2, 1.
Headbangers Ball. Wow, Headbangers Ball. He's a hard rock guy.
Yep. And then I loved all the Real World. See, Real World was social media before social media.
True story.
Yes, I love all those early episodes.
Eric Nies. Eventually wound up on the grind. Exactly.
The grind.
You're right, though. And by the way, that's what made it easy in 2019, 2020. Everyone was after the same stuff. Everybody wanted a Michael Jordan rookie. Everybody wanted these cards because Griffey Jr. It doesn't matter the 89 Upper Deck.
That's exactly what
4 billion of them. We're still going to make the price climb.
Nope. We all got the hard lesson about pop counts, but that's so I did Jordan. I did the Jordan rookie first. And then I burned through the Griffey rookies. And then early on, though, this actually wound up still being a smart play. I went to high grade early Gretzky cards. So like I got the PSA 9 Topps and O-Pee-Chee second year card. I got like a PSA 10 84, 85. And I got 3 PSA 10 81 O-Pee-Chee like in action. It's like Pop 31. Like I did get religion early. I realized the importance of pop counts early-ish on. So I did make some good moves. But what I didn't realize, which I'm sure has happened to everybody too, is like the Michael Jordan stuff. You think, oh my God, all right, I got the rookie, but you don't know about PMGs and all this madness, all these low pop things that bleed all the money out of the high pop cards. That was like what I really learned along with.
By the way, Steve, it's funny because a lot of people who are in this are probably 5 to 10 years younger than us. I just turned 46 today, so we're in the same gen. PMGs were not in our inputs. They were not something that we collected because by the time PMGs came out, we were in college, or graduate school, or working, whatever it may be, right? So that was the numbered stuff, the crazy stuff that was after us. The insert, the inserts fine, but not numbered inserts. The autographs in packs that came after us. So I'm with you. There was like a whole all right, I'm gonna get the rookie. I didn't. What is this green thing that looks like?
Totally. I remember thinking like, why in God's name would a prism green from Tom Brady's 15th year be worth anything? Because our whole life was rookie cards, cards, and that was like the big, awakening that staying with it through the hobby. You've realized like, oh no, there's all this low pop, high end stuff.
Cage, you would still do numbered stuff. You would just derive it from like the print run, right?
No, I mean you could figure out like how much cards weren't numbered.
Right, but you knew the Scoring Kings Jordan how many were made.
No,
Nobody knew how the Scoring Kings Jordan that 93.
You knew
card.
that Scoring Kings, I believe, were one per box, and you knew how many were in a set. But I didn't know how many boxes or cases of the product were made. Fleer Ultra was
the thing, Andrew, is just like a totally different mindset that we did not have. That you grew up inherently, that was part of your collecting experience. That was nothing how we thought about it. It was just like all wanting the same cards in the best condition you could get. But no
eventually like mid 90s, like I remember like 94, 95, like Zenith. They made the Z teams and the rookie roll calls, and they started putting inserts with like fancy foil on them. And they wouldn't be individually numbered, but they would say like, this is one of 3,200. Right. This is one. Mm-hmm. So you did start to get an understanding of the universe, the amount of cards out there, but not like serial number up to 100. That was unheard of.
No, and the only thing that we had like that was the 90, 91 Upper Deck, where they started throwing in like 2,500 Reggie Jackson autographs.
Yeah, an autograph.
That was considered low pop. And also like you would never see one of those in the wild. You would never pull one of those because it was 2,500 out of 200 million cards. You know what I mean? It was
like the 90 score franchise, the Mickey Mantle autographs were in the product. You never saw one of those.
Never ever would you pull one of those. Yeah. Ever,
and was it like just like trial and error? Was that frustrating as a collector, not knowing how many of something were available?
Nope. You just didn't think that way. You were like, I've got my Air Jordan sneakers. I've got my Michael Jordan rookie. You all just collected the same crap. You had the same tapes. You had the same cassettes. You all had the same video game. Like our whole generation pre-digital, we just all bought all the same stuff.
And nobody was buying it with the hope to sell it to somebody else and had to figure out how to tell the story of, all right, you bought it because you wanted it. Yeah. Like I had a Griffey Jr. card because I wanted the card. Mm-hmm. Like I was never like, oh, I'm going to take this and we traded, but the trading was different then too. It was like, all right, well, this guy's on a hitting streak. I'm going to trade this guy for the guy who's on a hitting streak. It wasn't like, oh, I got to figure out like how many of this are out there. That way I can hold it and sell it down. Like that is all like it came after.
No, totally. And we hadn't made the connection yet too, though, because we did grow up though. Like I feel like Cage and our generation was the first to realize cards could have value because that was like the mantle started being worth money. The connection we didn't make though was that, mantles were thrown in the ocean and meanwhile, our Upper Deck Griffies have been made by the millions. Like it was, again, the whole idea of a pop count was something we just thought if it was old, it would be worth money.
Right.
Oh, when I'm 60, this Griffey is going to be worth a lot of money. Oh crap! No, it's not because there's 5,000 in mint condition. That was the thing we didn't know.
I want to ask you something about the industry, but real quick, if we come back to so you had the Jordan, you bought the Jordan in an 8. Did you end up holding it? Did you get it to Luka? What were some of your next moves? And if you could kind of fast forward to what are you seeing today? Are you holding? Are you buying more?
Yep. No, great question. So I just, I bought through my childhood. Like, I did the Jordan, I did early Gretzky's, high grade. Thankfully, I love those. I haven't sold a thing. I've never sold a card. I'm holding all of it. I mean, I'm long-term horizon on this now. I view it like art. I'm just like, I'm excited for when it comes back around. Like I saw the, piece you did about probably 15 years. You did a thing on Instagram, which I thought was interesting, comparing the housing bubble and burst to cards. I think that's probably spot on. It's going to take a long time, if ever, till we see those prices again. But no, I just kept buying high grade stuff from my youth. I watched them all rocket. And in February of 2021, I felt like a genius. I'm like, oh my God, look, this is incredible.
We all did.
Right.
I used to go for a walk with my wife and be like, you want to retire? She's like, what are you talking about?
No, I know. I was hiding it. I had hid it from my wife. And I would hide the sports card content and I would hide the card. The things would come in eBay. I'd break it down in the mailroom. I'd slide it in my coat pocket. And that's true. I swear to you, that's a real story.
Great.
And then finally, I remember sitting down with her. I was just so thrilled with myself. It was February 2020. I go, honey, so I got to tell you something. I've been collecting cards and now they're worth this much. And she's like, whoa, what? And I sent them off to PWCC. I'm like, I got to get these out of my apartment. You know what I mean? What if there's a fire or something? And then, of course, everything came crashing back down to earth. But luckily I did some of the earlier stuff. I'm fine on. You know what I mean? The summer of 2020 stuff. I did not get into ultramodern because I'm not like a big sports fan now. So Luka and all that stuff is just something I know from cards. Really, like I'm not watching basketball games. I got into like stuff like this, like lower pop cello packs. I love because I love wax. I have wax.
It's a Taylor on the front.
So this is a PSA 9 LT. So like the 9s say there's like pop 36, the 10s.
But that's a pack. That's not a card, right?
No, yeah, that's a cello pack. So these were like the double packs that these were 49 cents as a kid. I love 83 baseball. This is a PSA 10 Tony Gwynn cello pack, like pop 6. And luckily, like I lucked out. I bought this pack raw on eBay. And it 10'd, which never happened. Wow. And then
if you guys haven't held the PSA slabs where they grade the cello packs, I actually quite like those slabs. They're a little bit oversized and thicker, but also they make for great display.
They really, these new ones just feel great. They're really solid, and it's just, especially for the cellos. Is
that a Montana rookie? That was 81 tops. That's your story. I mean, I'm buying 81 football cards, right? I mean, that's nice. That's cool. It's a different way of collecting cards. And the cello packs, especially because they're see-through.
You could see through it, so there's a Montana in there.
Yes. Yeah, it's a top card. So think of the magic of that. So a card that's been famous for 40 years somehow survived unopened at the top of a pack.
Right.
Like, to me, that's the magic of collecting. Like, you know what I mean? That's how many kids resisted opening this at the time.
Well, are you resisting opening it and getting that card graded?
Well, it's rarer the way he has it.
No way. Absolutely
really?
Not. No, because the thing is, the top card here, like the top card gets shattered from like the cello and da-da-da-da-da.
Gotcha.
This, I'm sure, like how they do the cellos is it's about the sanctity of the wrapper, and they're real big on like the centering of this label. So like this has to be dead center for it to be a 10, and there's very few 10s because I mean they didn't care about the cards coming off the line. Never mind how they wrap the cello packs.
Guys, I'll tell you, this is a YouTube video. I'm a podcast guy. It's how we started, and I'm always looking at the podcast numbers. We got to take a look at this, right? Because what you're seeing here is a couple things. Number one, you're seeing that there is not one way to collect. Mm-hmm. And you're seeing somebody who came in, again, for the third time collecting during the pandemic, like a lot of you did, but has absolutely no thought process at all about leaving, which I'm fearful of. If there's a downturn, Andrew's generation is not sticky. They want that crypto, they want that high. They move on to the next thing. Their sneakers. And you know what? I was guilty of it myself. I remember switching from cards to Beanie Babies when the Parsippany show in New Jersey went and did it in the 90s. You're always chasing that gain now if it's an investment rather than a collection. But what I love is just the smile from Steve, because this is nostalgia. This is what, that whole phrase we use from Josh McCullough Chronicles, right? It's not we love it because it's worth money. It's worth money because we love it. So this is what he loves. Like, this is now taking him back to when he was a boy, going into the store and buying one of these packs, and maybe even, Andrew, because your mind is blown by the see-through pack, maybe even looking in the box a little bit to see if one of the guys he wanted was on the top of one of these packs.
Well, in the second wave, I remember going to the store, Bradley's, which doesn't even exist anymore, going through the 89 Don Russ rack packs, trying to get the Griffey rookie on top, all that sort of stuff, like, for sure. No, but that's cool. For that stuff to last through eternity is so rare. You know what I mean? That it survived all of that. You
kind of get the best of both worlds is what I'm seeing here, because you LT and Joe Montana, so you do have like a position in both of those players, but you also have it in a very cool way where it's kind of deflationary in that those packs are being opened. You're not seeing more and more.
Totally. And it's more fun than wax, because wax, what do you have to do? Leave it alone. Here I can be like, look at it, be like, there's the card I'm looking for, not knowing it's somewhere in an unopened box that if you touch, you automatically lose like all your money.
And it's not, no one's coming in and saying, Steve, you're collecting wrong. because
Right.
this is what he loves to buy. You know what I mean? And eventually maybe it's worth some money, but he hasn't sold anything, right? So even if it's
Right.
not,
Yeah.
this is a cool, it's displayable, like you said, Andrew, with the slab. And
Yeah.
it's those are the stories we like to share, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
let me ask you this, because you answered those. That was great. I mean, I
Yeah.
love it. Go back and listen to the last 5 minutes, guys. But my question becomes this: obviously, you're a person of means, which is great. Not everyone is. We got a lot of kids who came in the hobby, got a lot of young people who came in the hobby. Andrew gives me crap all the time because I'm always like, this is what I'm going to do. And he's like, yeah, Cage, but not everyone has your wallet. And I'm like, I get it. So we'll speak to the people, who might not.
Yeah.
Why is it that you're so just, I'm in and I'm here? Like, I'm not leaving. Why is there some sort of nostalgia pull? Is it because you expect that at some point in time, it will reverse? Is it the community you found? What is it? And it could be a bunch of things or whatever
Yeah.
it is. Well, but I think people need to hear that, right? Because I don't want anyone to leave. I want every single
Right.
person listening to this to be listening to me and Andrew a year, 5 years, 10 years from now.
Yeah, I mean, I just love it. It's funny, like I tend to love things for life. You know what I mean? Like I'm still into Guns N' Roses. I'm still into like there are things in my youth that like I love it and I love it forever. And cards is definitely one of those things. And I think now too, like it's fun to be a collector because you have this whole content world around it. You know what I mean? It's like you're not collecting in a bubble. It's like you get to share other people's passions virtually and see what they're collecting, and you can just keep workshopping ideas sort of about what you're interested in. It's a lot easier to stay completely connected to the hobby than it was when really your only connection was getting a Beckett in the mail every month or whatever. To me it's a lot stickier, and like my love of this stuff has only grown deeper over the years. It brings me back. So it's nostalgia based. And it's an appreciation for the art of this stuff because I think it's incredible,
And you have some of it in your office. Do people look at you sideways? They're like, "Oh, there's the weirdo he's playing with his cards again. He's playing with his dolls."
No, yeah. So yeah, that's the art I make. So it's like with the art, I've been massively into. I've been teaching myself screen printing, and which you also have to learn Photoshop for the past 7 years. So then, when I got back into the hobby, I was like, wow, like I'd love to figure out how to make cards because they've always done baseball card art. I used to do like the wax wrapper from the 75 baseball with the picture. I would just draw and paint that. And I knew I always kind of like needed to learn how to screen print, but it's a lot. You know what I mean? You got to find a place to do it. You have to learn Photoshop, and then you have to teach yourself to screen print. So it's a commitment to like a multi-year process. So anyway, though, when I was like 6 years into screen printing, I was like, I've got to figure out how they made these cards. And I was able to figure out that sports cards are all what's known as 4-color CMYK prints. They're just dots layered from yellow to
cyan, magenta, black.
Yellow, magenta, cyan, which is blue, black.
Yep, yellow, black, cyan, and magenta. Those are the 4.
Yep. And they're just dots at slightly different angles so they don't overlap each other. And once I figured that out, I couldn't stop making them. It's like I'd be halfway through making one card, and I'm like, I got to make this card. I got to make this card. And they look exactly like the cards. But of course, the only problem with cards as art is they're too small. You can't really display. Like, look, you'd have to put 500 cards on his wall. You know what I mean? To cover that up. But when you see the detail, up close of these cards, I just think it's really cool. And like you can get the detail. It's like exact. You know what I mean?
Look at that. And you made that.
Yeah. So I've got a
It's a gorgeous card. It's one of the nicest cards Panini's ever made, in my opinion. Is that?
Yeah, no, I mean this card is beautiful. I was kind of excited to find out that CMYK technique would still work. I didn't know if it would work on like superfractors, ultra modern, but it does. It just
guys,
works.
for the card collectors out there, if you've seen somebody pull a printing plate out of a pack, right? So Andrew, stick with me here because you were like, "Whoa, what is he? What are these words he's throwing out? Cyan, the whole deal." Those printing plates are actually the plates that are used to make the cards, and those plates, even though they say one of ones, the hobby doesn't really love them because they're not cards, they're metal, they're a whole deal. But there's 4 one of ones for each card. Every one of those cards has a cyan, a magenta, a black, and a yellow printing plate. And some of them actually have that color still a little bit left over on the printing plate. Some of them, they autograph the whole deal. And, so those are the plates that are actually used for printing the card. So
Right,
Steve's
they just
actually
stamp 'em
taken
onto the
that and
sticky spot.
he's
Yeah,
turned
right
it
onto
out.
the cardboard. Yeah, so it's like it's cool that it works with screen printing, and I mean it's just like it's so satisfying. The list of projects I have coming up that I need to do just for my own satisfaction. You know what I mean? It's like I felt like I cracked the code on that, how to make realistic sports card art, and I'm just obsessed with it.
So you can find Steve's stuff on thesportscardartist.com. Thesportscardartist.com. Well, Andrew's very good at this stuff. Before the episode's over, he will get it somewhere on the screen for you guys to see.
Oh, cool! Yeah,
take a look and I mean some cool stuff. Everyone's gonna go and take a look at it. But what's your favorite one? What of the stuff you've made? What's your favorite card art that you've made?
you know what? So one of the first cards I remember from getting into the hobby, a 1979 Thurman Munson card. Because and again, how we started collecting. I started collecting in '82, but then once I got into it, I would get my neighbors' cards who were out of it. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, you got friends who were 3 years older. So like my first experience with cards went back to like 77, 78, 79. That 79 set I remember clear. I mean, that was such an integral part of my life. So, that's obviously his last card. He died in the plane crash that year.
Yeah.
But the thing I love about art is how much you can pinpoint exactly what era each individual card was from. You see that Thurman Munson card with the mutton chops and everything, and you're like, that's 1979. No doubt about it. It just, and so, yeah, I think like that's one of my favorite ones. I mean, the Jordan one, and then I've gotten more creative with like, not just recreating the card exactly, but then like throwing another layer of white, make it look distressed, different things like that to sort of give it an artistic flair beyond just the original card as well. So,
and you just had a gallery show in the last couple of weeks, right? How'd that go?
Yeah, it was great. It was in Greenwich, Connecticut, this place, C. Parker. And I mean, the thing that's cool about like the way I create these is I'm part of it's a studio that's open to the public. You rent space. It's just sort of luck of the draw. If it's empty when you get there, you can, create. So what happens is these start as rolls of canvas, like they're just massive rolls. I create them and then I send them off to the guy who stretches them onto the wooden bars. But I never really get to see the finished product the way it's intended, like this, until I do a show. So for me, it was just awesome to finally see Bill Walton rookie, Kobe, LeBron, Mike Trout, Mickey Mantle, like all these cards that I had made in one place properly displayed was like a real big thrill for me,
I think if my little intuition is working right, I think we'll have some of those at a show in the next year or 2 years. But you see where there's that Curry autograph? We're going to leave that blank and we're going to have Curry sign it in person.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. Yeah.
We're going to have Montana hand sign it at one of the shows.
No, that's something.
We're going to have Mike Tyson put his joint out on one of them.
Steve, when are you gonna make one of a sealed pack?
Oh, I would love to do that. Yeah. Like this, I love the 75 pack, the 75 baseball. Those old hockey packs are insane. Yeah. Because that's what I started doing initially. And the reason why I would do the pack as opposed to the cards before I knew how to screen print, it's impossible, in my opinion, to make. It's like you can't get it exact enough without screen printing. You have to like fudge over the details of a card, but you could do the pack easier, the art of that without screen printing. But now that I can do the screen printing, I'm excited to go back and make the packs the way they were done originally,
So let's say I'm listening, go to the sportscardartist.com and shoot you a message, buy it right through the site. What's if I want to buy one, I'm going to get one right here for my wall. Well, what's the one, two, three,
I'm on Instagram, Steve Lacy. You can find me on there's the link. Nice, cool. Just reach out to me. There's links there to message me. I can make any size and I can really make any card too. So like if you're like, oh my God, I would love a 1978 Nolan Ryan, any card I can make, we'll talk. And I just want to get them out there at this point. You know what I mean? I'm big on just getting them out, letting the right people see it, because it's like cards. It's a hyper niche thing, but I know the right person sees this and it's going to be like, oh my God, I need that for my office. I need it for my summer home.
For sure.
My man cave. So that's always a challenge, getting it out there. So I appreciate you helping me spread the word on that front, as well. It's great.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I'm going to get one for my wall and people will see it on,
like
on the episodes.
What's your card? Like what would your card of this be like that you would want done?
Well, it's something. The obvious choice is Kobe, but I want to go a little bit more original. So, like, I'm kind of thinking like it'd be kind of cool to go with Shoeless Joe Jackson from like the 1900s, like really go all the way back in history. Because okay, I'll have a Kobe. Everyone knows I love Kobe, but I really kind of want to make a statement. A card I love is actually Lev Yashin and Pele scoring a header goal back in like 1948. So I'll have to think about it. I'll have to think about it. Because I want to go original. I want to ask you
like Maradona, hand of God, maybe like the hand of God.
Now, or Zidane headbutting Matarazzo, I forget his name. I want to ask you something. So,
Suarez fighting.
Yes, where did you go to journalism school, if you don't mind me asking?
So I went to Boston College, but I was actually this is a good story. I like telling this story because I think it's helpful, and it very much aligns with everything Gary Vee would tell you if you were watching him.
Buy CryptoPunks. No.
Yes. Yeah. Buy VeeFriends. No. I always wanted to do the job I have now. I was a communications major my freshman year, and then I got sick of like people thinking you're dumb if you were in communications. Like at BC was like, oh, you're in communications, like whatever. You know what I mean? So I switched to marketing. I did a sales job my first year out of college for ADP payroll out of Parsippany, New Jersey. You mentioned Parsippany. I did sales training there. And then I did that for a year, and I'm like, okay, like I don't want to do this. And I know I'm 23. Like my life isn't over based on what I did the first thing out of college. So I just like, I got TV, I got behind the scenes TV jobs. I put together a fake tape of like me fake reporting, you know, and I would send it out. There's a site called tvjobs.com, I think, like early internet, like 2000, you know, and I would just send tapes via VHS tapes to every reporter opening in the country. And then I wound up getting my first job in Bangor, Maine in November of 2001, right after 9/11 and all that. And I moved there from Boston. I made 17 grand. And like, honestly, I was overpaid because I brought no value. Like it was really me learning on the job on their dime. So there were a lot of times though, where, you know, you're like, what am I doing? My friends are starting to make dough. I was 26 at the time. I felt old already, even though I wasn't. But I stuck it out, you know, and then I went from, you know, Bangor to Springfield to Boston. And then I've been in New York for 11 years. So it's like, it all worked out so much better than I could have ever hoped for. But it really was a lot about being able to endure the humiliation of not being good at your job on TV. You know what I mean? Where people can see it. So, I mean, thankfully it was pre-social media, pre-DVR. So a lot of my like terrible live shots and whatnot have, I think, you know, been erased from the universe for the most part, God willing. But you know, it was about sort of commitment to the idea that this is what I wanted to do. And there was plenty of self-doubt along the way, but I didn't want to give up. And thank God it worked out, you know?
I have a question, and I'm going to ask Cage to this. So Ted Turner, a lot of people don't realize this whole news media, there used to be like 3 channels on this, like, and it was like a knob. It was like, then Ted Turner, and I'm not a journalist guy, so poke holes, say this was a little wrong. So created CNN, and it was 24-hour news, right?
Yeah.
And in the hobby, we talk about how negativity will keep people from joining, and people will leave because of negative news. Yeah. But in reality, if we just look at the media industry, the media sells negativity, and that industry's grown over the last 40 years. Media is huge,
right?
And really, if you ask people, 90%, 80%, they're selling fear or negativity.
Yep.
I'm curious what your thoughts are. One, is that true, what I said? And 2, you watch sports card content.
Yeah.
Does negative content really push people out of the hobby? Any thoughts on it?
They don't all just sell negativity, by the way. Rosanna Scotto sells pasta now. I mean, they sell all kinds of good stuff.
That's not news. That's Emerald. We've talked about that.
No. All right. I mean, so your first point, I mean, yeah, does negativity sell? Yes, for sure. I mean, we've got 10 million examples of that in the current media universe. I think it's how it plays into sports card, and you know, it's different because I mean, now we're just such a tribal nation in one of 2 camps. So that the political side of the negativity, that's where the audience is in relation to cable news or whatnot. I don't know how it corresponds to collecting, because basically I guess the two tribes would have to be either people who are into it or people who are out of it. But if they're out of it, they're just not going to watch. I don't think negative hobby content is inherently bad for the hobby at all. You know what I mean? Like I think like sports card radio and stuff does a valuable service in showing the other side of the pillow, you know, as far as like, hey, listen, like we've been around for longer than you have, and we know all the scams and BS that goes on. I think that has value, you know. I think a lot of maybe like the personal vendettas and name calling or whatever, it's entertaining. It's probably neither here nor there for the long-term benefit of the hobby. You know, I think the content just has to speak to what would make people want to be involved in it. But there's probably room, I think, for positive, negative, and everything in between. I don't know.
Cage, any thoughts?
I can't do better than that. I mean, there's place for all of it, right? And there's content that is, you know, blowing it all up, and there's content that's burning it all down, right? And it's funny, you know, more people do things when it's easy, right? I mean, and think about it now, like a sports card radio, I do give them credit because they were doing the same type of content when everybody else was cheerleading.
Totally.
The whole thing was exploding. Everything was great. We were all high-fiving.
No one wanted to hear a negative word about any of it. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But they were still doing the same type of content then. So you get to have your day in the sun, right? Gary Vee was right for a while. And then when the page turns, Vegas Dave is right. You know what I mean? They can have their, you know, I mean, so what I give credit for are the people who are doing what they're doing consistently, right? Because it's easy to talk about, I'm picking cards and I'm going to make you all money when everyone is picking the right cards and making the right money. When it's on the way down, those guys also, the cheerleaders who are all positive and optimistic, 3/4 of them are gone, as Steve started off, you know, talking about. So, I mean, I think the most important thing for it is consistency. And if that's your message, that's your message. But I understand what you're saying. You know what'll go a long way? How is Steve going to find a way to work a card into the mainstream media broadcast? Because we've had Adam Lefko on, and he does sports, right? TNT. So it's easy for him to say, hey, look, I need Luka to have a good game tonight. I have a card. How's Steve going to work some cards into the broadcast? We got to think about that, audience.
You know what? It's funny. My other obsession outside of cards is the band Fish. So I work Fish references all over the place.
Really? Well, Andrew is a mean vacuum cleaner player.
Oh, he's challenging Fishman for
Fishman
solo.
He can play vacuum solo.
We'll have to get him in the donut dress and see what he can do.
I'm confusing Fish and Grateful Dead in my
a lot of people do.
But they had like the big bands, people like follow them around the country when they tour.
I mean, like musically, they're not similar, but like from the outside, the fans look very similar in their fanaticism, their dress, their approach to life.
They travel them.
Fish heads or deadheads? Is it fish heads or deadheads?
They're both.
They're both.
There's fish heads and deadheads?
Yeah, they're different groups.
If you're into fish or
deadheads, you know, people who want to follow Trey Anastasio and Fishman around, they're the fish guys. Which, by the way, I'm not a fan, but my college roommate was, and it has stuck with me the entire time.
No, I was curious. I could tell you weren't, but you knew enough about it. I was
That's it. That's my life, by the way. That's me on the show. I'm not an expert in anything, but I can talk about most things.
Yeah.
Kind of the deal.
He comes into calls. I saw this just this week with a business call where he knows just enough about the other person's resume
to scare them.
To scare them to the point where they're like, what the hell is happening on this introductory call? And why does this man know so much about
Why does he know what college I went to and where I majored? Well, LinkedIn is out there, guys.
Yeah. Social media is incredible. I mean, it's so powerful. It hasn't, honestly, it's like the hobby. It hasn't been all good or whatever. Maybe it started in one way. It was going to be a positive, world changing for the better. We're all going to be connected in community. Of course, that's been perverted beyond, you know, recognition of what Instagram and Facebook was 10 years ago. But everything evolves, you know, not always for the better, but I mean, it's a very powerful tool for sure. I mean, I just like the connections you can make. I mean, how this happened is I follow you on Instagram. You followed me back. You saw my feed. You said, oh, that art's cool. Let's do a podcast. I said that would be great. And here we are. That's I mean, like, there would have been I don't go to card show. You know, I'm not in the hobby in any public facing way. There would have been no way for this to happen even 5 years ago, you know.
Big card show tomorrow and Sunday at Hofstra if you want to venture out to Long Island.
Oh,
East Coast
interesting.
National.
East Coast, yeah, it's a big
You know,
show.
that happens like a bunch of times, right? A year, or
They do it in the spring and in the fall. The
Okay.
big shows at Hofstra.
yeah.
But
No,
they got some good autograph guests. You might, maybe get some guys who take a look.
I would like to check that out.
Ian opens packs and eats base cards. There's the
Only
summary.
Astros. He bites the Astros cards. He calls them cheaters and then bites the cards.
So something doesn't add up to me, Steve.
Yeah.
So
So
you're
Well, he doesn't
Here
do
you-
math well, Steve. So this doesn't surprise me.
you're so smiley. You're so happy. I feel your positivity. But on the other hand, I was told starving artist. And then here you're watching Sports Card Radio, AIH. And I'm like, is he just like this positive, like Good Morning America guy? Is he a starving artist? What bucket do you fall in? Or
You
are you
could
a
be
mix?
all the above.
well, I'm not a starving artist because I have a day job. Thank God. So
I tell Andrew this all the time.
Yeah, that's a humongous lesson. And this is something I saw a lot of people do during the pandemic. I think they wanted to create a new lifestyle, and they said, you know what? I'm going to give myself no net. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to become a coach of this, that, or the other on Instagram, and I'm not going to have a fallback plan. That's a bad way to do it, I think. You're going to have more options to do the things you want in your whatever your chosen field is if you do have rent taken care of.
Andrew's got hives from what
You could only listen. You could only live off your fat reserves for so long,
right?
No, because that is our generation where we are anchored to it. We do things. We'll try the high wire as long as we know the net is okay. Andrew lives by the way to make sure Plan A works. Is for Plan B to be not to have a Plan B. That's this generation.
But this wasn't like a new thing for me. I did this in 2013 when I got a job on Wall Street, and I was like, I think I'm dying in here.
Right.
He's telling me the lights are sucking my energy.
Yeah.
This is going to be my life for the next 50 years?
No, I know.
Kill me now.
That was me selling payroll door to door to small businesses. I'm like, this isn't real. This is not my life. This is not who I am. And I mean, I guess in some ways I did cut the cord. I wound up bartending and all that in the years between selling payroll and working in TV. There were incredibly lean years. Everything is gray. But I would just say, don't rush to cut your cords thinking it's going to
happen overnight.
Greatness that wouldn't have otherwise happened. And sometimes it might jeopardize it because I've never had to worry about what card I'm making, which has the most commercial appeal. I just make what I want.
But listen, for the younger audience out there, let's spin this a different way, right? Mm-hmm. So we're talking about 47-year-old Steve doing art, or 45-year-old, 43. You've been doing it for the last couple of years, right? And doing it with a net. But the motivational speaker posse that's out there that likes the quotes and the whole deal focused more on 20 minutes ago, where Steve decided that he was going to get on television, and it didn't matter how he did it. He was going to basically fake it until he made it. He's doing 100%. Videos of fake.
But I consider that entrepreneurship, by the way. Entrepreneurship like this. Yeah. Because he bet on himself is really how I define entrepreneurship. Right.
No, that is to me the success of my career, is that it's actually wild to me when I look back on it that I did it. Like, there is something beautiful about youth. Like, how insane was I to think this would ever work out? Like, it did. But it doesn't for a lot of people. You never know. It's wild. So I'm only overwhelmed with gratitude that I live in New York City and I've got a beautiful wife and a daughter and I've got a great life. Like, I can't believe it worked out like this. You know what I mean? It blows my mind because there were no guarantees it would.
I think the biggest thing is I take don't cut the cords. But you can bet on yourself. And I think in today's day and age, I don't know if it's easier, but like, you don't have to commute for one. Most of you guys out there that have jobs can work from home.
It's easier because you all have the tools to do it. Like, when I was making my first fake TV tapes, I had to get a union photog to like lose 10 minutes of his lunch, go out in the back parking lot while I did, fake stand-ups. Now you can do it all on your phone. The flip side of that is so can everybody else. Yeah. So you're just, you're a bigger needle in a bigger haystack or whatever. So that's the both sides of that coin, but I'm all for everybody betting on themselves and whatnot. Just don't take away options by leaving yourself so backed up against the wall too
late for Andrew.
So something I love, like the man in the arena, I love that quote, but I like it for a different reason. Like, when you play a sport or you do something at a high level, you are able to not critique, but like view something from a different lens. So you watch a lot of sports card content. You mentioned AIH. You mentioned Sports Card Radio. Who is doing it right, or who do you like what they're doing? And if you could call out specifically what you like about them.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's one guy, he doesn't post that much. I think it's hard because I'm just watching. So it's like social media. You don't know where you saw anything, but like there's this guy, I think his handle is Vintage Card Curator, and what he does, which I think is really cool, he goes through the fallacy of PSA pop counts, specifically when they like artificially lower the PSA 10s. Like he does these methodical videos where it's like, well, if the ratio of 9s to 10s is this, then are there really only 10 Derek Jeter 93 SP foil 10s? That's and he like, I mean, this is like, you know, a legal
shocking card.
Yeah.
There's like 20 PSA 10s of this
no,
card.
totally. And like when you're done watching his video, like, okay, that's BS. And he does that for like all the other pop controlled cards, like you know, like the 79 Ozzie Smith and da-da-da-da-da. Like there should be more 10s. There should be
80
more
Henderson.
10s. Totally. All that sort of stuff. I mean, I'm
Can I contextualize this for people? This is a great one. I can't believe you started this.
Yeah.
So what he does with the Jeter specifically, we've talked about this card. There's 20 PSA 10s, which is like a $400,000 card.
Right.
And there's in the hundreds, I think 700, 800 PSA 9s. But that ratio of 20 into 700 for Jeters doesn't match across the same
or any other
set.
card in that set. It's not that. And then he goes down to like, where is this card on the sheet? Okay, that's not a part of the sheet. That would absolutely be miscut every time. It doesn't make any sense. Like he's so methodical. Like, you know,
defend it. Would you like to take the stand and make a statement, Cage?
No, listen. What I find
Probably not
amazing
the
about
defendant
this
in this,
is that someone like Steve, who's having fun with this, consumes this much hobby content that he's able to answer a question. I'm like, wow, put him on a spot. What if he only listens to us and AIH? No,
right.
and boom, nailed it.
I mean, look, I like Roth cards. I like Fornos. I like those like really hyper well edited, high production value. It's very entertaining, you know, or like the shots match the beat of the music. And I think like those guys are smart. What they learned is actually genius.
Don't expect them to be so nice to you when you meet them in person, though. Just
okay.
Well,
don't
expect any of that
don't
from
meet
us
your
either.
heroes.
Yeah.
Don't expect that from us either.
No,
sorry.
But it's like I think they've outsourced the video and the editing, which is smart. That's what Sasha. I think that was like Sasha T's innovation. He was like, okay, I do cards. I'm going to get someone who does video and editing, and it's going to look good and it's going to sound good, and the production values are good. So I mean, I do like production values, but bad production values doesn't turn me off. Like last night I was watching this guy Brandon's Packs, who does just like he's like a cello unopened guy. I mean, he's just there on his phone in his house, going through what he likes. So production values aren't a deal breaker for me, but they definitely help. You know what I mean? It'll keep you there longer, I think, you know.
Yep.
50-50, 80-20 content to production. What would you say the split?
I would say probably 80-20 content. But the only thing is, like, people do have to be properly mic'd and stuff. I can't deal with like no, but that's
your mic is fine.
Yeah.
I get a lot of comments,
all right. This
by the
is
way.
what I want. I want you guys to get Cajun a microphone.
Oh,
I
that
would
was
love that.
Is that you from all of those accounts?
Why-
DMing me?
do other
You're not
people
the
say
only
that?
one saying that.
Really? Yeah.
No.
Can I tell you the truth?
And I love Cajun. I was psyched he joined you guys because I learn a lot from him just barreling through at 1.5 speed, which is his natural rate. All the modern stuff. Like I learned a ton from his PWCC breakouts. Like I love that, you know?
So there's this magic card. It's give me the skill to yield this tool. It's not just about the tool, it's about the skill to yield. So wield, not yield. So he had a Yeti microphone. It just wasn't connected to the input. So it wasn't a microphone issue. It was the source was not connected.
So he was talking into a microphone, but the microphone
because
wasn't picking it
he's
up.
so high strung like that. Actually, I love that story. It makes perfect sense. He had his monster energy. He was fasting. His 8 kids were in bed. He was up at 5 a.m. Like that's perfectly so on brand for Cajun. Like I love it. I'm obsessed.
But to go settings, audio input, microphone, it's like
no.
So,
He had to burn through 80 cards in 8 minutes.
What? That's so on brand. Okay, so Victory was the first account. Cajun is incredible. Anyone else? One more account you want to give flowers to? Huh?
Andrew's big on the flowers. He likes the flowers, which is good. This is part of the whole hobby positivity and like the good thing that moves it.
You think
forward.
I'm putting Steve on the spot? I could ask you, Cage.
Yeah, I don't give flowers to I give flowers to everybody who has wished me a happy birthday today. I feel awesome. The hobby's the best.
You feel so seen.
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I watch like Baseball Collector, like I Mike, vintage. Like I do. The thing I like about it too, like I like that you can get every different era. Like I like watching some vintage. I like watching Ultraman. I like even watching stuff I don't collect just because it's interesting, sort of like, the mentality and the idea behind it. So I really do like it all. I'm glad you guys called me out though, so I could prove that I'm not like pretending to be into cars. I like that you pressed me on that so I could prove that I actually do watch this stuff.
No, I mean, I think it's amazing. Everybody find the sportscardartist.com. Steve Lacy, he's on Instagram. I mean, I get to chat with him. It's pretty cool because 10 o'clock, I'll turn the news on. He's there also. Yeah. And so it's pretty surreal. And yeah, we started off with, hey, I watch you guys every day. That was very weird to me because he's on television every day. So I love it.
He's got to bounce real quick. Are you a teleprompter guy or are you
no, it's not the prompter. It's on the prompter. Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's all on the prompter. I'm Ron Burgundy.
But yes, exactly. San Diego. But I ad lib and write plenty for sure. But I mean, ultimately, that's how it's delivered. All right, 3 o'clock. I gotta go hit my
sports card artist.
This was great.
Thanks, Steve.
Peace. Awesome, guys. See ya.
Thank you all for listening to another episode of Lucas, Tigers, and Bronzo My. I wanted to tell you about a new service that we have starting as of today, and I'm really, really excited to bring it to you guys. So, as a part of our partnership with SGC, we got 50 free submissions every single month, and many of you have taken advantage of that. And it's amazing that we could have the opportunity to 650 episodes, 675 episodes in, to go ahead and give back to our community. As people were sending those cards in, they asked, can we send 5, 10, 20 more cards to you guys? We'll pay for it, but we wanted them graded with SGC. You guys know SGC is turning cards around in 13 to 14 business days, have incredible customer service, and their secondary market values are going up day after day after day. And that's exciting for the hobby and exciting for the grading landscape. So we didn't want to just rush into it. We wanted to do it right. And what we did was I relocated here to Boca Raton, Florida. I opened up a P.O. box maybe 5 minutes away from SGC, and I will be hand delivering and hand picking up the cards. So you don't have to worry about anyone else touching your cards. It will be me, and I will update you every step of the way. So here's how it's going to work. I'm going to personally pick up the cards from a P.O. box, prep them, new card saver, new penny sleeve, and deliver them to SGC every single Tuesday. Why Tuesday? Well, it lets the stragglers over the weekend come back through on Monday and gives me a day to prep, and it basically gives SGC the entire week to work on grading those cards. Once your cards pop, only then at the end of the process will you be paying for the service. It's $25 per card, simple as that, and the turnaround times have never been faster. We're hearing right now 13, 14, less than 20 business days. So there it is, 9170 Glades Road, number 135 is the P.O. Box in Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. 9170 Glades Road, number 135, Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. Of course, you could shoot me an email or shoot me a text anytime, and I'm always available. Many of you already have my email. It's iamandrewgoldberg@gmail.com, or my cell phone number, 215-519-9154. Reach out with any questions. I could walk you through the process. I've hopped on the call with quite a few of you, and I'm happy to do that. Love you, Luka Nation.